Is it raining near you?
Constantly. Just
It's
past
like
several days.
It's a fucking torrential downpour right now. Like
I expected this about a month ago. Now it should be getting warm, but I have a heater in the background going.
The April showers is certainly like the colloquialism in America of
supposed to bring May flowers.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of May fucking lawn weeds. I can tell you that much, and that's no fun for anybody involved, including my neighbors who all managed to find time to mow their lawn in like the 1 day gap in rain that we had where I couldn't.
Well,
so it's a whole thing. It's a whole to
do. Be like, oh yeah, it's a natural habitat where we're promoting pollinators.
Yeah, it's a bee sanctuary.
Exactly.
Local bee sanctuary. That is true. It's how the wildlife flourishes in a community. Mm-hmm. What is not how the wildlife flourishes in a community is, I don't know where I was going with that one. I was hiring a union busting firm. I don't know.
I was going to say the segue into the first story is usually you intro the show first.
Well, I'm trying to do this thing where I actually say all the things that we're planning on talking about at the top, so it's not like a mystery. I want to trying to hook the viewer in early. Those first couple minutes on YouTube where you watch the Duels and Dorks podcast, a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about all the news, information you need to know in the world of Magic the Gathering. Every other week goes live on Mondays for free feeds. You can get it early ad-free on Fridays for the Patreon. Sorry to the patrons this week. We're recording it on Friday. Because Wyatt, the typical Gemini himself, in his infinite familial goodness, is like family. Let's go on a summer vacation because everyone's out of school and we're going to go and do a thing. And it's like, all right, well, make yourself unavailable for this very important show. That's fine. I understand. He's too good of a family man for us.
A lot of dadhood in there.
Interestingly, you would imagine that husband, wife, kids. Okay. Mm-hmm. What are your classic vacations?
Beach, Disney World.
Exactly.
Cabin in the Woods. Not a movie, just a cabin in the woods.
A national park and camping. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All those sorts of things. Wyatt and the family are going to a horror convention.
So Cabin in the Woods, the movie.
So Cabin in the Woods, the movie, the post, more like the post movie like talk that happens about it. So they're all big horror buffs in that family. So it's a lovely thing. They've done it before. They'll get very cute pictures of their kids dressing up as like Freddy Krueger or some shit. I don't know. I'm not a horror movie guy.
I'm really not either. I've watched a couple in the past, but like I thought Duskmorn was pretty cool, but that's about the extent of my horror attitude.
I mean the Comedy Central scary movies are a fun parody, really entertaining as like a young teenager that really shouldn't be watching that kind of movie, but as an adult, it doesn't quite hold up.
Well,
there's some humor in there that is of the era. I tell you what,
it really dates itself.
It really does. But this is not the horror podcast. This is the Magic the Gathering podcast, Duels and Dorks. I did the spiel already. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/thedungeonbros. The title of that is going to be changing in the very near future, waiting on some art to be finalized. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm very excited. It looks cool. We just did a round of revisions like 2 days ago. I'm very excited. But yeah, you can get early ad-free access at the $5 a month tier. You can join for free if you want to have questions submitted, comments, concerns, thoughts, or ideas read on the show as well. Or you can get your name read at some point during the show. One day it might just be the end, but right now it's just whenever I feel like it. Was usually when I'm talking about it for Brandon Vold, because he's one of the, as you know, been around for 5 ever, this guy.
Yeah, really since essentially the beginning.
So basically, when we decided, like, hey, it's Monday, let's play Magic on a live stream on TikTok every week. What a guy! Love him. All right, let's get into the news that you need to know for Magic the Gathering. And we're, of course, going to give a little bit of an update on the Magic Arena Union story. So the employees at Magic the Gathering that work for the Magic Arena team, specifically developers and artists and that kind of stuff that work on Magic Arenas, as we talked in a previous episode of the podcast, are attempting to form a union, United Wizards of the Coast, to get, really, really just greedy things like not having to go back to the office after being hired as a purely remote worker and not having to uproot and relocate their entire lives. Wanting security from layoffs, wanting protections against usage of AI slop. Really greedy things.
Yeah, absolutely.
They gave a deadline of May 1st, which was Union Workers' Day. And they were like, you can voluntarily accept our unionization now, Wizards of the Coast, and this is the deadline we're giving you. Wizards of the Coast decided to not do that, in a surprise to, I think, literally nobody. And they didn't really even release much of a comment. I think they made a comment in the Magic Discord server, basically being like, we've seen it, we've heard it, and we're looking forward to negotiations. And that's basically a nothing response. The update. Wizards of the Coast not only has hired a law firm, which would be normal in this, they hired a law firm that has been described by many as a union busting law firm. That is a very loaded term in American politics, and it is not one that is thrown around lightly to describe lawyer practices that engage in these sorts of union negotiations. So, specifically, Fisher Phillips, LLP. They are a company that has been long established, has been advising other companies on how to push back against union organizing efforts, and are widely described as a union busting firm. Hiring this law firm sends a very clear message about how Hasbro wants to handle this, I think. The attorneys specifically are Alex Desrosiers. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And then Jack O'Connor. They're going to be working for Hasbro and will be negotiating with the National Labor Relations Board against this newly formed union. It's really all the information that there is to say here. Hasbro historically not fond of unionization and giving more power to the employees at their various entities. This is the company that sent the actual literal real life Pinkertons over, again, March of the Machine aftermath play boosters being sent out, epilogue boosters. That was before being sent out early. Doing that for aftermath is like, what the fuck? I can never. But yeah, that's really the only update of note here. I don't know if we've gotten you on the record quite yet with the unions. I don't remember if it was the last episode you were on that we were talking. What do you have to say about?
Oh, hello, Jester.
I don't know. What do you have to say about the Magic Arena unionization movement?
It's surprising to me that in the year of our Lord 2026, there is still a constant battle of the employee versus the employer, and obviously there's a lot of things happening in the world where those in power are not being the benevolent forms we hope they'd be. It just makes me think back to when we very first started this podcast. Actually, one of the first stories we talked about was back when NFTs were just at the peak of popularity. There was a group wanting to use NFTs to create a specialized online Magic play platform. Where and they said one of their goals would be to use the money that they got from minting NFTs to eventually buy Magic the Gathering, the IP, either away from Wizards of the Coast or by Wizards of the Coast. And we scoffed at that back then. Just the fact that the idea of a non-mega corporate entity would be able to purchase this IP. But man, does Hasbro keep putting things in the way, and WotC keep putting things in the way of the actual game developers getting to do their job and actually continue to produce the game? Mm-hmm. I could, if this union fails and we just see a bunch of people leave the company entirely, if we see them go find other jobs elsewhere in other game development companies, like, you can't keep the brand alive. Maybe we should have, sold it to somebody else, or should have had an NFT group buy it years ago. People who actually care about the game and the community.
Well, it's like the Altifox, like the activist investor group that was trying to hostily take over the company by buying shares, get force board votes and that kind of stuff. It didn't end up working, but NFTs. I feel like we all knew at the time NFTs were a fucking scam. Especially like the really dumb chimpanzee ones.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, some people were really into them and buying them for oogles of money. But we looked at that and was like, haha, very silly.
Yeah, no,
silly.
We're not partaking in that.
No.
Then it's just Hasbro will never sell off Wizards of the Coast, because as we were going to get to in the next story where we talk about the quarter one earnings for Hasbro, which I said I was going to list all the things we were talking about, and then I got distracted, and I don't think I ever did.
No, you don't.
Yeah, we're talking about the unionization. we're going to talk about the quarter one's earnings call at Hasbro. We're going to talk about Marvel superheroes and Spider-Man coming to Arena, the banned and restricted announcements, nothing affecting Commander, but a couple other formats are getting affected. And then how Secret Lairs were never really print to demand. Mark Rosewater admitted it himself, kind of. So that's neat. Anyway, but Hasbro's existence entirely subsists on profit from Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast is subsidizing all other branches of what Hasbro has going on. And as we'll talk about here shortly, it's not really D&D making the money. I mean, D&D makes money. They turn a profit, but not anything close to what Magic does. And it's not even the Arena team. Digital Magic is not really a growth sector for them right now. It's paper, which is also probably why they're willing to fight back. If Arena was this like monolithic, we're raking in cash entity,
right,
they'd probably be more willing to go to the negotiating table in good faith. But seeing as it apparently isn't, or maybe this is them downplaying the numbers in light of this at the quarterly earnings call.
Right.
But
it's also one of those things where the leadership of Hasbro has said, Chris Cox has said, he really wants to start focusing on the more digital and the more video game aspects of all of their properties in order to grow that division. Years ago, they said this, but which just reminds me how long we've actually been doing this podcast.
Right.
But it's also one of those things that's very interesting that there is another Magic the Gathering MTGO, a completely unaffiliated group that
they've got their own marketplace,
they've got everything, and it's why? I mean, I guess the competition is not it's a one-on-one competition, and I guess Hasbro doesn't care because they haven't stopped them, they haven't tried to do anything, but it's just why are you just asking your employees to, like you said, I mean, I think one of the biggest things that always gets me when talking about tech companies and the decision to bring people back into the office, because I mean, when we lived together, I was completely remote.
Yeah.
And, besides, I've never understood besides, control of the employees and a reason that the excuse for the companies to pay for these big, expensive office buildings, which they've added all the amenities to over the years. I've never understood the return to office sort of mentality. Sell the building.
It's just,
Be completely
it's always
remote.
just been to justify the property. Yeah, no, remote is totally fine. Anyway. Unless you have any other notes, MTG Arena unionization, you can still sign their petition to show your own support. That is UnitedWizardsOfTheCoast.com, if you feel so inclined. What's more interesting, well, not necessarily more interesting. It's not nearly as important, but it's got a lot of fun information for us. The Hasbro 2026 quarter one earnings call. Every quarter, publicly traded companies are required to have these publicly disclosed information sessions, basically, where they talk about everything that happened with the company in the previous quarter. As quarter one is now done, we have that for the entirety of Hasbro. Their revenue, Hasbro has increased 13% versus this time last year, primarily due to Wizards of the Coast's 26% growth over last year. Magic specifically grew 36% over the same period last year. The releases of Lorwyn and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were both called out for this increase, as well as the, quote, continued strength in backlist titles. This is the term that Hasbro uses when talking about sets that have come out prior to the current quarter or the previous quarter in this instance. The growth at Wizards is broken down as follows. 23% in tabletop, about approximately 1% in Wizards digital, that's Arena. Digital licensing is negligible, a wash at about 0%. And then 2% FX. This has to do with things like currency exchange rates. Being a multinational corporation, they're able to deal in multiple currencies. And when there's a large disparity in the values of currencies, they can move cash into different forms to effectively just gain passive benefit from dealing in certain types of currency. Interesting magic statistics that they always talk about. The average Magic player is about 35 years old, so a little older than Sam and I. The average Magic player plays the game for 5 or more years. Over 11,000 stores are in the Wizards Play Network. In 2025, it was only 10,000, so they're adding new stores. And there were over 1 million unique players that participated in organized play events in 2025. These are pre-releases, tournaments, that sort of thing. So this is kind of the high level. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty here. Lorwyn Eclipsed was, at the time of release, the best-selling Magic Premier set of all time. That means it is the best-selling Magic in-universe set of all time. They specifically use the term best-selling as opposed to most profitable, though I would imagine it is. I've seen some people arguing, well, it's like, oh, it just made way more money because the prices on everything is way more. It's like, no, it's sold more units of product than any in-universe set before. Only to immediately be dethroned by Secrets of Strixhaven a couple months later. So we'll pause here. The growth in in-universe Magic sets. I personally think you're seeing people come into the game. You got your Final Fantasy fans that try Magic and maybe stick around. You've got Spider-Man fans. You've got Avatar fans. You've got whatever fans of whatever outside properties are coming in, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, I wanna play the Final Fantasy Precon. Oh, there's cards here that they're not a Final Fantasy thing. This is something from Magic." And then they want to upgrade it and they get cards that are within Magic's universe. And they're like, oh, people are really excited about Lorwyn. There's an interesting mechanic here I want to try. And they're figuring out how to funnel these universes beyond players that are willing to continue to play the game into in-universe Magic. Couple that with the fact that a lot of people started taking sets off of not buying them. For the sets they don't care about, and then they're like, I really care about this, so they come back in full force. What do you make of the growth in-universe Magic? Do you think this bodes well for the game going forward?
I sure hope so. I mean, that was originally, the one of the original intents of Universes Beyond was to bring in outside players, because once you spend 30 years just kind of repping your own brand, well, then you've cut off a lot of people who don't know how to get in or who don't necessarily want to. So I mean, in that regard, it's been successful, especially in the last couple of Universes Beyond sets.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously in the last year we've had a lot of discussion about the bloat of Universes Beyond, and the declining quality of a lot of them, i.e. Assassin's Creed, Doctor Who, things like that. So Spider-Man. To see those actually the quality of sets overall, Avatar, Final Fantasy, and then into the Universes Within sets, Lorwyn and Strixhaven, to see those all being well taken care of is a good sign. Obviously, you still will get flops. In my opinion, TMNT wasn't that great.
We'll get to that here next. But no, I completely agree. But with TMNT, the quote that they use specifically, Chris Cox, Christopher Penis, as we've called him, the CEO of Hasbro. When talking about TMNT specifically, he says it, quote, outpaced internal expectations. Now, if the expectation was TMNT would be better selling than Assassin's Creed, and it turned out to sell better than Spider-Man, then, there you go. It outpaced. Which Spider-Man isn't a good example because apparently that set sold amazingly, probably because they're wholesaling to local game stores, resellers, all that. But it was a very dodgy way to answer that question. If they were actually confident in how TMNT sold, they would just say that.
Right.
And because they didn't, it leads me to believe that it was not great, but they don't want to admit that in an earnings call to investors. That's my interpretation.
I think that's a pretty good interpretation.
Some other fun statistics that are worth going over. Backlist sales set a quarterly record due to demand for Avatar and Final Fantasy. Says that though we're only into 1 quarter of the year in 2026, it already represents the third largest backlist year in Magic history. So if that trend continues, this will be another record for Magic. MagicCon Las Vegas sold over 23,000 badges, making it the largest Magic event ever held. And MagicCon Amsterdam is on track to sell out as well. And then he looked forward, touting the remaining Universes Beyond sets of the year, Marvel Superhero, The Hobbit, and Star Trek. Also brought up news that we will get into here now, where Marvel and Spider-Man are coming to Magic Arena. When Spider-Man came out, we got Through the Omen Paths because they did not have the digital rights to make the Spider-Man cards on the Magic Arena client. So they had to do new names, new art for all of the cards in the set. Well, new names for most, new art for most of all of the cards in the set. And it created a big issue of a clear disparity between Paper Magic and Arena. With the release of Marvel Superheroes, we're going to not only get the Marvel Superhero set proper on Magic Arena, you will also have your entire collection updated to get all of these Spider-Man versions of all the Through the Omen Paths cards that you have opened. Through the Omen Paths versions will still be available as card styles, so you can play with them on Arena if you so desire. All Through the Omen Paths packs on Arena will be opened upon the update automatically in your account, which is not something they normally do. But just because of the nature of how the update has to roll out, they're going to force open any packs that you may have sitting on your account. And then going forward, you will not be able to purchase Through the Omen Paths packs. You will only be able to purchase Spider-Man packs, though you will get the Through the Omen Paths card style versions of those cards. I think this is just a complete win.
I mean, Fleam enjoyers are going to, as long as they keep their card style Fleam, I think they'll be okay. But it's a very strange set of circumstances that is surrounding this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it a win? I guess, yeah. I mean, we can look at it as a positive thing. It's just one of those, like, yeah, we were driving the car, and we finally managed to get all three bobcats out of it.
Yeah.
Before we actually got to our vacation destination. Like,
it's better than arriving with the bobcats.
Exactly. It's just a very weird thing. So...
This news is one of the several reasons my most recent video is being delayed. Part of that video is theorizing that Spider-Man was originally meant to be an Aftermath and Assassin's Creed style mini set that they had to expand. And if it was originally a mini set, it would not have ever gone to Arena, much like Assassin's Creed never went to Arena. And if that had happened, then they never thought to get the digital rights because they were like, it's just not going to go to Arena. And when they had to change that plan to make Spider-Man a standard legal set, and they're like, fuck, we have to have standard cards in Arena, and they couldn't get the rights in time for the release of Spider-Man. So now they've ironed all of that out. It is no longer a stain on Arena. But you still get flames, so it's, still
get
big
flames.
Wins. Big wins all around. Big wins all around. Lastly, I think this is, two more points. There was a question about how they view retention numbers for players who started with a Universes Beyond set. Chris Cox makes the claim that the strong backlist sales this quarter prove they're making new Magic players. He also says that's powering new hobby and WPN stores, creating a virtuous cycle for them. Goes on to say that Universes Beyond is the most successful new player adoption initiative they have ever done. I think objectively that's true. In terms of the best growth that the game has seen. Mm-hmm. I don't think that can really be argued. Didn't get into specific numbers.
Right.
Which is you got to keep one eye on the executive. You always got to keep one eye on the executive.
An eye on the cock.
One eye on Christopher's penis. But it's opening up new hobby and new WPN stores. We're getting new game stores because the hobby is growing. And I think that is also good. We're enabling small businesses, enabling more people to go to pre-release, to go and do a draft night and have all that kind of fun. The last one has to do with printing capacity, card stock availability, and card stock pricing. This off the heels of many Secret Lair printing and delivery issues. We're getting tariffs. It's making it more expensive to ship things around the world. And there's been a lot more errors in printing, as we've seen with wrong pre-release cards and pre-release kits. We saw Secrets of Strixhaven cards before the reveal of Secrets of Strixhaven's full set. We saw Emeritus of Ideation in a Whatnot stream because it was in a TMNT pack.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of issues. Christopher Cox says trading cards is the hottest category in all of toys and games. He expects that category to eclipse building sets either this year or next year in terms of total size. Supply is always a challenge, quote, especially with a bunch of new entrants. He's talking about games like Weiss Schwartz, One Piece, Digimon, new entrants into the TCG space, because there's only a limited number of companies that can do the printing at the scale that these card games need. He talks about their longstanding and diversified supply chain relationships with multiple paper and cardstock sources they validated in multiple countries. Feels good about their ability to chase demand, but says they might see some impact on some shorter-term demands if something vaporizes or sells out really, really quickly. They used to be able to accommodate a reprint inside of 6 weeks. Now it's more like 3 to 4 months. He says that when you look at the backlist rates, both the player and the collector are sticking around and being patient and willing to buy. And it's one of the motivations as to why they want cards to stay in standard rotation for longer, which is interesting. A card that would be in rotation for 18 to 24 months is now 32 to 36. I think the card printers is a really big business opportunity for the printers to expand, for new companies to get into the business, enter the supply chain to help fill the need. Obviously, with like the war in Iran and travel restrictions, tariffs, shipping is a nightmare. But it's very clear that the printers are being overworked and we're getting subpar product because of it. I'm a bit dubious of that claim. The only other thing that I found particularly interesting in this is that Arena is less than 10 to 15% of Magic's business today. When it was rolled out, it was originally 20 to 25% of the business. Thinks that Arena needs a revamp to be more aligned with the strong growth they've seen in the rest of the business, hoping that the Spider-Man Marvel announcement will help. That's why they've been doing things like Pioneer Masters there to try and assimilate the card pools more, give more cards availability on Arena. They've been using the bonus sheets on a lot of these sets to help with that as well. And a lot of the growth in Magic he attributes to two product types: Secret Lairs and collector boosters, specifically products in those lines that are oriented for more social play, like Commander. What do you make of their eyeing on Secret Lairs and collector boosters, and do you think it's going to continue this trend of underprinting, overpricing, limited supply run issues we've seen with these kind of product lines?
I fear that it does. You know, it's always one of those things where I mean, look, we've talked about, you know, and we'll talk about it again at the end of the episode, the weird, the Secret Lair is going to cost you $29, or $30, but you get $3.72 worth of value.
All very playable.
All very playable. Yeah, no, I was looking at the Garfield one recently. I was like, there's nothing wrong with a Soul Ring and what is it? It's either Swords or a Path. I can't remember which, but
we got a Swords to Plowshares, Dark Ritual, counter, you know, playable stuff. $4 in value.
Yeah, it's like, where do I want to put my money? And I mean, I'd rather give my money to certain other places than the big corporation that does handle all of my, handles the main IP that does print all the cards. But at the same time, I'm already giving them plenty of money from every time I buy a pack to play Draft or something like that, you know?
Yeah. At the point you're spending $30 to $40 on a lot of these Secret Lairs, you'd be better served just getting like a pre-con.
Right.
In terms of just value return. I don't know. I think it's a mixed bag. So last thoughts on the earnings call, I think. Growth, good. More people playing the game. More people coming from universes beyond and then getting into in-universe Magic is good. Another thing I don't even think we mentioned, they saw record numbers of participation in sanctioned play, your pre-releases. Actually, no, we did mention that.
Yeah.
Which is I think one of the best ways to play Magic is at your local game store pre-release. But also them recognizing the value and profit margins in the collector products in Secret Lair and how they're doing it is just kind of reinforcing some of the bad consumer unfriendly decisions that have been made in those product lines. Do you have any final thoughts on this financial report?
I just want to point out the very last bullet point.
Oh yeah,
here on the earnings report, because it's something we've been actually talking about for a while, and it was a question about how the success of the in-universe sets could change the mix of universes beyond sets with, because right now obviously it's 50-50. Used to be way less. Over the course of 3 years it changed to 50-50. And it's interesting that Cox says they're always playing with the combination of it, and while he was vague about it, he says that at the they're at a decent place, that it could now be plus or 10% in terms of how much first party versus how much universes beyond. And he goes on to talk about the new animated Netflix series and calling it killer and one of the biggest animation events for fans of that Netflix could help invest in. He thinks that the success with the animated show of the could influence the mix of in-universe sets in a positive direction, which again, something we've been big proponents of for a while. Give people a reason to care about your IP. Used to do books. They're bringing back books with Secrets of Strixhaven.
Yep. Dark Horse Comics has been doing stuff. The Destroy All Humans They Cannot Be Regenerated manga series.
Yeah.
Multimedia.
Get people interested in your IP. That way you... when did they first start? It was fun to be like, ooh, Warhammer? Cool. Ooh, what was another early one? I mean, obviously, Lord of the Rings. Awesome.
D&D.
Cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, when you get the far, yeah. So that's in line with what we want, I think. And I say we, as in not just the Dungeon Bros, but the people.
The people.
The people want it. We speak for them.
I think in this regard, a lot of the set cadence issues have come about because of a lot of the delays and changes they made to the standard set mix after March of the Machines Aftermath. And I've got a whole fucking video. I shot everything. I need to reshoot a couple parts because there's new information now. And pushing Lorwyn from 2025 to 2026 and condensing 2026's releases, and also how that affected the mix of in-universe versus universes beyond sets for 2026. I could totally see them going to a world of there's 3 and 3, maybe 4 and 2, either direction, depending on what properties they have lined up, what in-universe stuff they want to try. But even now, it seems like Reality Fracture, it's like, okay, well, it's just a one-off. It's fun.
Yeah.
I would love to see them go and just be like, all right, we're going to do 2 sets on a plane and tell a setup story of a plane and a conclusion story on the plane. Not every time, just occasionally.
That's something interesting I have seen as I don't know if it's a trend, but like when on Magic social media accounts, or Magic creators often, especially older ones, often talk about, they're like, no, you don't want blocks back. You don't have the attention span for it. And I'm like, yeah. But also,
you could do 2.
You've seen, I mean, we saw Thunder Junction. Again, there are a lot of Thunder Junction haters out there. I am not one of them. I like Thunder Junction. The Holy Cow is my favorite card from that set, and people hate on it so much.
The more time goes on, the more I like it.
Right? And it's like, again, if they had just given it a little more time to breathe, if they had even done two sets of it, if they gave us a story set up back in, was that 2024? 2023? Yeah. 2024. They gave it a setup in 24, and then, I mean, we got Strixhaven back in 2022, and we just got a second Strixhaven. People are loving it. They gave us a setup and a conclusion down the line. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why they feel the need to drive towards completion so quickly.
It's just way easier for the design process. What I think would benefit this idea, and you can kind of see this example with Strixhaven to Reality Fracture. We're doing Strixhaven, Marvel, Hobbit, Reality Fracture. The stuff that's going on in Strixhaven directly leads into what's going in with Reality Fracture. I think it's Tam, the student, one of the students at Strixhaven. All turns out she's an agent for Jace and his alternate reality that he's making. Spoiler alert. If you're not up on your lore. But like, imagine a world where it's like, okay, we're going back to Theros. Okay. We're showing what happened, how they're recovering after the Phyrexians and after Jace has been fucking with the timeline. Okay. And we show the rise to power of like fucking Erebos or something. Okay. Perforos, whatever villain you want. I don't know if Perforos is even a villain. Whatever villain you want in Theros. Okay. Show that rise. Okay. Next set. We got Universes Beyond fucking Cartoon Network. Okay. Or whatever. Then the set after that is Theros again, where it's the conclusion of that. So like you can space it out where it's not like you don't need to build set after set after set with similar working mechanics. You could do a set, do a Universes Beyond, or do something else, God forbid.
Right. And
then go back to that plane a couple sets later. Like, and finish out that story. You can have a through line between those two. And for all the block haters out there, I want to point out how, and this is genuine props, the designers have been doing a great job of designing set mechanics across all of these universes that coincide with one another and synergize shockingly well.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole plethora, like even the really fucking weird ones, Earthbend, Firebend, and prepared, like firebending and instant speed prepared spells that you will want to use as a combat trick. Or, I mean, I thought they were going to bring back the learn mechanic with all the lessons.
Right. Yeah.
I just think they didn't want to fuck with the sideboard. Some of those cards are really powerful. But they're giving like cross set synergies as they're developing through a year. And you could totally get the same thing of in-universe set, Universes Beyond set, where some stuff kind of works together, and then an in-universe set on the same plane. And like there's through line all the way through with how the mechanics work together. It's not like blocks of old where it's like they're revisiting the same mechanics over and over again, or adding a mechanic, or adjusting and fixing and making a new one. And
or slight variation on mechanic A is mechanic B. Yeah,
exactly. All right, moving on from the boring investors meeting. That has some cool stuff. We've got a BNR, banned and restricted announcement on May 18th. Interestingly, standard, no changes. Pioneer, Corey Steelcutter is banned. I can't say that we're surprised. The smaller ones, Alchemy, Sewer Valence Cam is banned if you play Alchemy. Bonder's Ornament is unbanned in Pauper because it's a 3-mana mana rock in Pauper. Undercity Informer is banned in Legacy because of oops all spells. Can't have 4 copies of Balustrade or 8 copies of Balustrade Spy anymore. But the big one, Modern. We have the banning of Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury, and Lotus Field, with the unbanning of Violent Outburst and Umezawa's Jite. Very, very big adjustments to the Modern format. Flage, Titan of Fire's Fury getting banned greatly impacts one of the most popular Modern decks since the release of Modern Horizons 3, and that being Boros Energy. Lotus Field has had some combos, particularly with Aftermath Analyst, that have been very, very powerful. And frankly, any land that produces more than 1 mana, the fact that it's stayed unbanned for this long is kind of surprising. It's just been waiting. Violent Outburst is getting unbanned. It doesn't matter what Violent Outburst does because it's a 3-mana instant that has Cascade. If you have played Timeless in Magic Arena, you have almost 100% come up against a deck that is Gemstone Caverns and Indestructible Lands and 4 copies of Violent Outburst, 1 copy of Tybalt's Trickery, and an Eldrazi. Where Cascade, it's just if you manage to cast it and resolve it, you cascade into one specific spell at 2 mana that then enables a combo that will win immediately. Deemed not really powerful enough anymore. And for similar reasons, Umezawa's Jite, which had a very long run as a powerhouse card, it's an equipment. It puts charge counters onto the equipment when the equipped creature is dealing combat damage. And then you can remove charge counters from it to increase the power and toughness of the creature equipped, to gain life, or more importantly, to put -1/-1 until end of turn on another target creature. It's a removal spell. It's a buff equipment. It can keep you alive in a pinch. It kind of a do-all equipment where, again, the power level for what modern is not quite there anymore. No bans for Commander, though I do believe there's a BNR coming up soon where I imagine not much will happen. A lot of people upset that Badgermole Cub did not get banned. A lot of people are upset that a lot of the core cards in your Izzet shells in Standard, like your Storm Chaser's talents, aren't getting banned. Stock up, that kind of stuff. But Standard, in terms of gameplay, is in a pretty diverse state right now. Izzet is clearly the strongest color pairing, but their win rates are like barely 50%. So they're not completely dominant. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to begin the conversation about these bans and unbans? What stands out to you?
I think so. I'm looking at Modern specifically, because again, like you said, there's the most that happened here: 2 bans, 2 unbans, and yeah, it's very interesting. I think Umezawa's Jite is kind of the interesting one for me because when I pay more attention to Canadian Highlander than I do Modern, and obviously there's very little that's not playable in Canadian Highlander, or well, there's not allowed to be played in Canadian Highlander. And there, Umezawa's Jite is still is a very powerful card. I've seen it used in gameplay, but then you go back and you start hearing, you hear Canadian Highlander players talk about, it, and they're like, man, even this 2 mana, was it 2 mana, 2 to equip artifact is too slow in certain points, which is insane. You know, like as powerful as it is, there's just so much out there that can compete with it, or there's enough versatility and removal spells that can take care of it. So seeing that get unbanned is it's good that they're keeping the ear on how powerful all formats are these days. And same with Violent Outburst. Like I believe whoever wrote the explanation for why that was unbanned, they're just like, yeah, it's just any Cascade piece is crazy, so this one just isn't as crazy as it once was.
Yeah. The writer for that was Carmen Klemperens.
Carmen, yes. So I think those unbans are very, very interesting, very cool. Again, not a big Modern player, but
I'm always interested in Modern, but it's not something I ever want to play in paper because I don't have $2,000.
I was going to say, who has the money for that?
Right. But like the Boros Energy shell, Flage with Arena of Glory specifically, being able to enter and attack on the same turn, dealing 6, gaining 6, completely swings.
Oh yeah,
a slug. But like, I feel like taking out Flage is going to definitely hit Boros Energy hard, but you still have a Johnny Nikado Pariah, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, Ragavan. It's just gonna pivot and be something different,
right?
Slightly different, but basically the same core. Like they're gonna find another card that can slot in for a Flage. There's plenty of creatures that enter the battlefield, deal damage, enter the battlefield, gain life. Or they're going to find something that goes well with Guide of Souls and Ocelot Pride and try and go more of a life gain energy package, even though that's kind of what it already is.
But that is part of the point of these bans is I mean, as you know, not it's to keep the format moving forward, right? Even though we may not be getting each set may not have a huge amount. It's not every set is Modern Horizons set, so you're not getting a whole slew of new things that are absolutely playable in so many instances. It's to keep the format moving in a creative direction, and hopefully we see, hopefully the hope, of course, is that the banning of Flage doesn't kill the archetype, right? It's to diversify the archetype and to find new strategies within it.
Well, the Lorwyn Eclipse and helping out Living End specifically, because in Modern it was Violent Outburst into Living End. In Timeless on Arena, it's Violent Outburst into Tybalt's Trickery into and Eldrazi. But Living End, I mean, it's a powerful card as well, and being able to cast it immediately without having to wait for it, especially with the unbannings of things like Faithless Looting, where you can fill your graveyard way easier. Faithless Looting does run into the problem of you might cascade into a Faithless Looting instead of into the Living End. There's interesting things to have to play around in that regard. But again, I mean, this... I don't think it's going to shake things up too much.
Right.
I think it definitely is going to help out the like the article said here, the Stoneforge Mystic archetypes with Umezawa's Jite. I think Boros Energy getting a knockdown and Amulet Titan getting a little bit of a knock are going to help more fringe Modern decks. Your Esper Fairies, your what is it? Is it Affinity shells that are running like your Pinnacle Emissaries and your 0 mana artifacts to create a bunch of drones and then slamming a Kappa Cannoneer. I love that deck on Arena, by the way. It's so fucking fun, dude. If I were to build a Modern deck, it would be a Modern Is It Affinity deck. It's such a fun time. Legacy, we don't really play Legacy. I think Oops All Spells is a really fucking fun deck.
Yeah, right.
All MDFC lands, so you technically aren't running any lands. You run all the Lotus Petals, and then weird cards that only work in this archetype and don't really have alternatives. Obviously, running the Spirit Guides just for mana, Narcomoeba, Poxwalkers, what is it called? Oh, are they not even running that? Does this deck not even run the... No, it doesn't. It doesn't run... Creeping Chill. There we go. Creeping Chill.
Oh, okay.
I got there. That's interesting. Okay, well, now I'm interested. I'm going to dive into that.
That's honestly one of my favorite, like... Not necessarily Oops All Spells, but like one of my favorite styles of deck building. And obviously we're still more Commander players than anything. But like when you can find the weird place for the niche card, like when you can, when you're going through bulk and you're like, wow, this 14-year-old card that I've never heard of can actually work really well in this deck.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty cool.
And even Manaless Dredge in it's not, what's the other, it's not Legacy, the other one. Why am I drawing a blank on the other super old one? Vintage. Manaless Dredge is also awesome. If you've watched the YouTube channel Play to Win, they've done vintage games before. They do that around the holiday season so they can just kind of bank some easy episodes and take a break around Christmas. But Dylan on that channel plays Manaless Dredge, and that deck looks awesome as well. Very fun formats that I would love to play and not spend $10,000 on a deck.
I mean, You ever watch MTG Goldfish play their games? I'm pretty sure they do it all in... I don't know what system they use, but it's all online. And honestly, to me, it looks like honestly, like I was just thinking about, you could do like an architect. Mm-hmm. You could set it up so you just do architect playtester and just set it up for 4 people with how you're screen capturing.
Well, there's examples of how to set up like your Moxfield play test screen for like spell table.
Yeah.
You just like screen capping in OBS and then making that a webcam that then goes into spell table. A lot of people do that. I think that's fucking cool.
That's pretty cool.
I like playing with it. That's really cool. That's a low price.
Wow.
And then lastly, Popper. Popper, I think, is the 60 card format that intrigues me the most. I have a Popper deck made. I'm entering a Popper tournament at Gen Con this year, which I'm excited for. It's super diverse. Bonder's Ornament ain't gonna mean shit in Popper. I'm telling you right now. A 3 mana that taps for any color you can pay for, and then each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card. That's too slow. The mainstay decks, your Tolarian Terrors, Affinity, Madness, Jund, Wildfire. It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
And then nobody plays Alchemy. So
I will say the sewer surveillance cam, like
sewer, yeah.
When that came out with TMNT, I was like, oh, this is a super cool card. I want to figure it out. And then I got bored with TMNT, so I kind of stopped playing arenas at the time.
Dude, sewer valence, as they pointed out, sewer valence cam, even with the corrected version of VV Ornatier, is just fucking cracked.
It's super,
It's sewer valence cam also has made a lot of rounds in Popper with the affinity deck there, because it's an artifact and it's 1 mana and it can untap things that just helps them churn through. The problem is, in paper, sewer valence cam came out. Oh no, I'm thinking of the other Popper affinity card that came out with TMNT that was not in a booster product. Because there's 2 of those. That's Ultram Monitor.
Oh yes. Yes.
So, anyway, that is all we have for the BNR. The last thing before we do a quick Secret Lair wrap up is also to do with Secret Lair. Mark Rosewater's Blogatog. That's his Tumblr blog that he's been running for God knows how long, and he answers fan questions all the time. He was asked a question by MG Megadog. Could you explain why Secret Lair moved from print to demand to a limited print run model? I thought it was so that cards could be reprinted to reduce time between ordering and shipping, but a decent okay, this is kind of poorly written. The claim was to reduce shipping times. Mark Rosewater, he recently did a podcast. He's got the Drive to Work podcast. It's about 30 minutes. He does 2 every week. And he had Lindsay Bartell on, who's the senior director at Secret Lair. I've talked about this in a previous episode. But he clarifies here. We only did print to demand for the very early days of Secret Lair, like 6 months. And it was untenable from a business standpoint. We are now reserving printing time a year ahead of time. That's far different than a product being delayed a month or 2. Most of the time you think of as, quote, print to demand actually wasn't. We just printed way more than we needed to guarantee we had enough to mail out. And that resulted in us destroying a lot of product. Put a pin in that. It was also untenable from a business standpoint. We are working to improve our ability to forecast, but the huge increase in players plus the experimental nature of Secret Lair makes it difficult. We are getting better at it, but slowly. Unpin. Why are we destroying boatloads of Secret Lair product instead of just leaving it up for sale? And then when you have excess, you can use it as incentives for WPN stores. You could use it as buy X amount, get a bonus Secret Lair. Just throw in for people that are spending like $500 on Secret Lair products at once. Throw it in. You could ship it out to fucking conventions to sell there. Like, Why are we destroying the product? Make it make sense. I don't get it.
Companies have such weird rules when it comes to like how their products, get distributed. I mean, obviously, like you hear, like I think the more classic example is like the grocery store selling out or throwing out just 2-day-old bread because they can't sell it past 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a little different, yeah, but like, it doesn't make any sense. You have plenty of opportunity to still utilize this overprinting. And like you said, if you're still getting better at it, they're getting better at it, they're making the predictions better, presumably.
Except Goblin Storm.
What?
Except the Goblin Storm deck. Ugh, way off on that
one. Well, but like, they decided to go in a weird... It's probably all corporate bullshit and some logistics director who has his own his own finger up his ass.
He's got his ass up his ass.
It's 2 directors, one with the ass in the other ass.
Ooh, ass to ass. That's crazy.
Ass.
That's a visual.
How logistics works.
Yeah, that is how logistics works. So you put an ass to an ass, good to go. Logistics.
Suctions.
Anyway, Secret Lairs are probably not changing.
Nope.
I do think they're going to find themselves ordering way more product going forward just to fulfill the demand, because the stuff that's selling out sells out quickly, and the stuff that doesn't sell out never sells out.
No. Yeah. Right.
And it's pretty easy to tell which ones are going to sell out and which ones aren't. I don't know what metric they're using for predictions. They should have known Goblin Storm was going to be a banger.
People are feral for goblins,
especially at $150.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. That was just a poor decision on their part, which leads us to the wrap up. We got a bunch of Secret Lairs. Goblin Storm, as we've been talking about, limited purchases to 1 per person in an attempt to combat quick selling out. And it didn't matter because it sold out in 35 minutes.
It didn't work.
It did not work. They just criminally underprinted what they needed, and the demand was way, way, way too much. They claim, in that same podcast that we were just talking about with Mark Rosewater and Lindsay Bartell, was that her name?
Yes.
Yes, Lindsay Bartell. They say that scalpers are not a major issue on Secret Lairs. And am a little skeptical, but when you look at eBay listings post Secret Lair drops, when you look at listings up on TCG Player, which, by the way, when that happens, they're breaking their terms of service because they don't have the product in hand. Fun fact. We're talking like dozens or low hundreds of listings for a drop that presumably would have thousands and thousands of units. We don't have specific numbers, making up 5 to 10% of total sales volume. Still problematic,
sure,
but not this. I think there's a lot of people in the community that just yell scalpers every time a Secret Lair sells out, and it's like, I still think upwards of 85% of all the Secret Lair products are going to people who are buying them to play with. Or buying 2 to play with 1, resell the other one to recoup some of the cost. And I think that's fine.
I think it's I mean, again, this is all conjecture. It might be getting conflated with, say, the Pokemon TCG, where that is a vast majority of scalpers. That is, you see those videos of like the poor Target employee gets trampled to death because he was trying to put up the cards and they didn't even let him get him out of the box.
Literally.
But or I mean, go back to the Steam controller that just released. Like they had to do a second release because there were so many bots buying it that they had to put certain restrictions on the purchasing of it to say your account had to have a purchase before X date in order to get a single Steam controller as a way to prevent bots and scalpers and things like that. I think it maybe is conflated there. I don't know. Again, we haven't seen too many. We don't know the full numbers.
Speaking of the Pokemon scalpers, this is a little bit of a sidebar. The fucking vending machines of Pokemon product. I was at Kroger yesterday, and I was picking up a graduation card for someone I know who's graduating high school. Congratulations. And there was like 4 of them just like standing there waiting for it to like get restocked or refreshed to let them buy something, or that's a problem.
That's crazy.
Magic does not have that problem, thank God, because people actually play Magic.
Yeah. And we have enough product that comes out. We're like, no, please stop. No. And then we get hit by a TMNT collector booster box. You know, it's like,
why are we talking about
I wasn't done playing Lorwyn.
I haven't even gotten a Strixhaven drafted yet. I don't want superheroes. What I think people need to direct their energy at is not this scalper problem in Secret Lair. It needs to be directed at Wizards of the Coast to be like, hey, print more of the stuff.
Yeah.
Put more value into it so that you know it's going to sell well. And it doesn't have to be crazy. If you put $30 of value into a $30 Secret Lair, it's probably going to sell out.
Yeah.
And then just make more of them. If you have some left over, who cares? You're making $30 to $40 a rip on 5 cards and some packaging.
They could do the or I mean, obviously maybe don't intentionally do this, but do you remember when Dominaria United was coming out? They released a video where they're like, "Oh shoot, we found cases of original Dominaria," and they just had a whole bunch of different people like sitting in a huge empty warehouse with nitrile gloves on, opening individual packs, being like, "Wow, I remember this card from 30 years ago." Like, you could, I mean, you don't want to do that, but you could. That could be a thing.
It's this whole idea, right? Like just let it age and then bring it to MagicCon and people will be like, "Oh my god!"
Right?
And then just sell it then. But like this whole the business was untenable thing, I'm calling total bullshit on. Like especially with the volume at which they're selling Secret Lairs right now and how frequently they're coming out, how clearly they're invested in making these products. You can up the secondary market card value that you're reprinting in these from, you get $5 to $15 worth of cards in this $30 Secret Lair to $25 to $35 of value in this $30 Secret Lair, and then just print more of them. I'm, as we've discussed earlier in the episode, I'm sure there's printing capacity issues and all the like, but I'm calling bullshit. Last wrap up. Cats are the best super drop. We've got a whole lot of them revealed. June 15th is when this comes out. The first 3 drops were all Garfield related. Motivationally Challenged is going to be about $14 in reprint value. It's got Ren and Ciri Inseparable, Orange Chant Ponder, Beast Within, and Soul Ring, with Orange Chant and Ren and Ciri being the big dollar cards on that one. All of these drops, $30 in non-foil, $40 in foil. Also with Garfield, we got As Intended for $4.50 in reprint value. That's your Swords to Plowshares, Dark Ritual, Counterspell, Earthquake, and Fog. Fog, notably a quarter. And then the one that I think looks the fucking coolest, Our Only Thought Is to Entertain You. $17, you get It That Betrays, Maddening Cacophony, a second Secret Lair reprint of Maddening Cacophony. If you remember the Furby drop, that one's cursed.
Oh, that's right.
Maddening Hex, and then 2 cards worth a quarter at Hunter's Insight and Molten Collapse. Also, as of today, they started showing some of the other Secret Lairs in this drop, though the value in them is in line with what we've been seeing. I'm trying to find their tweets so that I can pull those pictures up. I have not crunched the numbers on it, but we're getting another one that has Sheltered by Ghosts, Witch Enchanter, Beseju, who shelters all, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Spirit of the Hearth. I can't imagine that would get to $30, maybe off the back of Beseju, who shelters all, just because of scarcity. And then the last drop would be Court of Grace, Reverent Mantra, Windborn Muse, Queen Marchesa, and Ruinous Ultimatum. Couldn't tell you the value on any of those cards.
Nope.
But I imagine they are in line with what the rest of them are. The art on them is sick. I love cats. I play Witch Enchanter. I play Sheltered by Ghosts in a lot of my white decks. I have Ruinous Ultimatum in a deck because I think it's a really cool one-sided board wipe. If you're into the art and you want to play the cards, go for it. Otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, our Swords to Plowshare, Dark Ritual, Counterspell, Earthquake, and Fog entirely playable. Absolutely. Could I buy that and slot one of those into into many decks? Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
My real issue here is in the motivationally challenged, Rin and Ciri inseparable.
Yeah.
Rin and Ciri inseparable. We've seen. I get it. It's never had a really good reprint. It's not hugely. But we could have something else. I'm tired. We've had a couple of Renin series. Can't we get a Yigra who devours all? I thought that one would be really cool for a Garfield one, and then you could have other food-based. That's Garfield's whole thing. He loves lasagna and hates Mondays.
Think of that. And then a lasagna food token.
Lasagna food token.
Fucking no. What are they doing over there?
What are they even doing?
What are they even doing over there at Secret Lair? That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. God damn. All right. Well, Cats Are Best Super Drop, June 15th. We've got Mood Swings as well coming out in June, if you're into that. It seems neat, but I'm not. Do you know, have you seen much about it? It seems fine. Sure. Mark Rosewater has been designing a game for 30 years, and this is it.
And there you go.
It's like a quick imagine if Magic the Gathering, Imagine if Magic the Gathering Jumpstart had a Pai-Gow variant. It's kind of like that.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. Well.
And then the cards are way simpler, and you see a lot of mechanics that have odes to Magic mechanics and all that kind of stuff. But that, ladies and gentlemen, probably not many ladies, mostly gentlemen.
Mostly Brandon Vole.
It's mostly Brandon Vole. No. $15 a month patron, Brandon Vole.
Brandon Vole?
Brandon Vole. Do we have to say it 15 times? God, I hope not.
I think we said it already 7, so,
give or take.
Okay.
Give or take. Brandon Vole. That is all the time we have for this, the Lord's 117th episode of the Duels and Mandorks podcast. We're going to be back again in 2 weeks from now. Same groovy time, same groovy place. Though our recording time may be different because I don't have so many fucking night practices to coach anymore. Well, summer schedule, baby. We're swimming in the morning. With all of that being said, we love you very much. And as always,